Hey there, beloved of God and of mine. Welcome to this video. We're going to rush further with our topic, but of course we will not rush through it. We will go through it step by step. Last time I totally forgot about the time. Always exciting stuff. So let's continue with our topic called the end times beyond the eras of the nations. I'm going to the one before last slide. That's this one, and we read it already, but just to refresh your memory, let's read it again, and we'll read it, let's say, a bit more fluid, more in the flow. So Zechariah is talking here. Before we continue, I need to do something. Well, it's so easy when you have a pause button, right? So let's start. Zechariah is talking here. Then the messenger who was speaking with me came forth and said to me, "Lift your eyes up, I pray, and see what this is that is going forth." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "This is an ephah that is going forth." And he said, "This is their depravity in the entire earth." And I already mentioned that there means Jerusalem. Jerusalem's depravity of those rich Jews and of course others who follow them. And behold, the covering disc of lead, the metal lead, was lifted up, and there was this woman, one sitting in the midst of the ephah. And he said, "This woman is wickedness." And he flung her back into the midst of the ephah, and he flung the stone of lead down on its mouth. We continue. Verse 9 through 11. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, two women went forth, and the wind was in their wings, and they had wings like the wings of a stork. And the stork in scripture is an unclean bird. We continue. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heavens. And I said to the messenger who was speaking with me, "Whither are they causing the ephah to go?" And he said to me, "To build a house for it in the land of Shinar." What is Shinar? Shinar is the county, the region in Mesopotamia where Babylon is seated, where Babylon is established. And this ephah, will be set and left there on its base. So we are talking here about a relocation of wickedness from Jerusalem to Babylon. Right? Clearly, there will be a relocation from Jerusalem to Babylon. Okay, the cover of the ephah from lead, metal lead, is very telling of this move. Because where was the lead empire established? In Jerusalem. But now we get a relocation. So let me ask you, now we're going to go to the 8th empire. What is the 8th empire? Now it's going to become very easy for you to think about the 8th empire, which is from among the 7. Remember? What is the 8th empire? You could pause, of course, and think amongst yourself. Now it has become super easy, because the 8th empire is Assyria, which was also the 2nd empire. Why Assyria? Let's read. After Jerusalem has been destroyed, the beast will relocate his empire headquarters to Babylon, Shinar, Assyria. So Babylon is the city, Shinar the county, and Assyria is of course the empire. In my view, the beast will also have something to do with Nimrod, the founder of Babylon and the first ruler of this third eon. Why do you think that the region of Edom will be safe from the powerful beast? Because Edom is the land of Esau, together with Moab and Ammon. But why? What is Esau to do with Nimrod? Well, I'm going to tell you. Esau killed Nimrod. That's why. Think about it. This beast will have such a worldwide power, but he will, for one reason or another, not be able to touch people who are in Edom in a certain place. Why? Because Edom is Esau's land, and Esau killed Nimrod. This is also why I think it will have something to do with Nimrod. I think it's the spirit that inhabited Nimrod. That spirit. And Esau killed Nimrod while hunting, just as a reference, and I will tell a little bit more about it. So Assyria was the second empire in the vision of Noah, the empire of clay, which is soft metal. Remember? So let's talk about this point. Esau killed Nimrod while hunting. Both Esau and Nimrod were excellent hunters. Esau was only a teenager when he killed Nimrod. He was only like 14, 15 years old. That's it. Nimrod at that time was the king of the world. Everyone knew Nimrod. It started with Babylon, remember, before the dispersion of all the nations. Everyone knew Nimrod and his wife Semiramis. So, when Esau killed Nimrod, two things happened. Let me start the first one. Esau took Nimrod's coat. His coat was a very important coat, in that society. Why? Because this coat was the very coat that God made for Adam and Eve. When after they sinned, they tried to cover themselves with fig leaves, remember? But then God made a coat of animal skin for them because sin demands blood in that sense. So God made that coat for both Adam and Eve. From Adam, that coat was handed over through the next generations until the 10th generation, who is Noah. So Noah owned the coat legitimately. But then the flood came, and Noah and his coat, of course, were on the ark. So after the flood disappeared and this eon started, Noah was still in possession of the coat, right? But then something happened. His youngest son Ham stole the coat from his father. I don't exactly know the circumstances. I can just guess, but I will not mention that. But he stole the coat from his father. And later on, he handed the coat over to his son Cush. He had more sons, of which Mitzrayim, that's Egypt. Mitzrayim was the oldest, but I don't know why he handed the coat over to Cush. Okay, and Cush later on handed the coat over to his youngest son Nimrod. Nimrod was the youngest by far compared to Cush's other sons. Nimrod was by far the youngest. And he inherited that coat. And he was king of the world. No one was greater than Nimrod. And I've also understood that with black magic, Nimrod also became sort of a giant. But he wasn't a giant originally. He became that with black magic. So this is just the background. But the second point I want to reiterate as well. And that is this. Esau, after he killed Nimrod, he ran to his house with the coat. He ran to his house. And when he arrived at the house where he grew up, he was totally exhausted. And while he came into the house, what did he see? his twin brother Jacob making a pot of lentil soup. And Esau wanted of that soup. And Jacob used the birthright, to blackmail him with it, so to speak. And Esau thought that his life was worth nothing anymore because he thought that the whole army of Nimrod was behind him. So he thought, I'm dead. I'm already dead. So my birthright, I have nothing with my birthright right now. I just want some soup as a last death meal, so to speak, so that I can die. That's what he thought. And that is the background and the circumstances behind the reason why he despised his birthright. I don't want to defend him, but this is the situation. Let me put it like that. So, since you know that, now you know a little bit now more about the background. Now you also understand why I think, and I'm almost sure, that the beast who will inhabit the end times leader is the same beast that inhabited the body of Nimrod. The same beast. And I think those two have a link, and that's why the region of Edom will be safe from this powerful beast. Okay, let's go through some scripture regarding Assyria. Isaiah 31:8. Quite often scripture talks about the Assyrian or Assyria in prophetic sense. Then the Assyrian will fall by a sword, not of a man. How about that? And a sword, not of a human, it shall devour him. And he will flee for himself from the presence of the sword. Yet his choice young man shall be for tributary service. That will happen. Prophecy. Hosea 11 verse 5. He, and the context is Israel and specifically Ephraim, he shall return to the land of Egypt. Oh yes. And the Assyrian, he shall be his king, seeing that they refuse to turn back. How about that? Oh yeah. And this will happen. So many Israelites will go to Egypt. They will return to Egypt. And because they refuse to turn back, the Assyrian will be his king, will be their king, the Israelites. So what will happen is that when Jesus returns, he will go southwards first. He will go to Egypt. And he will rescue all the Israelites from Egypt again. This will be the real Exodus. The Exodus by Moses was a foreshadow of the real Exodus that will happen in the end times. And Jesus will lead his people. He will march in front of his people out of Israel through the Sinai desert, through all the regions where they are captive, and he will free them all. And he will march through the desert, through all the wilderness. And in this case, what wasn't permitted to Moses and Joshua, this case, they will march through the King's Highway toward Israel, toward Jerusalem. Moses and Joshua were not allowed to go through the King's Highway. This is the real Exodus. Let's continue. And they will make a glorious entrance into Jerusalem under the leadership of Jesus. And a lot more things will happen along the way. I will not mention it. Only one word I will mention. a very well-known Marvel hero, and that is Iron Man. Think of Iron Man when you read Habakkuk 3. But let's continue. Isaiah 10 verse 5. Woe, Assyria, club of my anger, and a rod is he in the day of my indignation. When is the day of God's indignation? Especially the end times, of course. And the day of God's indignation will be, especially the climax will be, of course, at Armageddon, when the whole army of the beast will be crushed. And the beast is the Assyrian, of course, the club of God's anger. Micah 5 verse 6. And they will shepherd the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod with unloosened swords. And he will rescue from Assyria when he is entering into our land, and when he is treading upon our territory. So Assyria is here mentioned as a name of an empire, of a country, if you want. However, in this case, it specifically refers to the individual, the Assyrian, because it says when he, under his leadership, Assyria will enter into the land of Israel, and when he is treading upon our territory. I'm going to end a little bit earlier today, so I'm going to finish up this slide. Remember that the eighth empire in Noah's vision is also of clay, meaning soft metal. So combine this with numerous prophetic passages, and prophetic is always future, of course, in that sense. So combine it with those passages in scripture about Assyria, because there are many more, and it seems quite clear. So let's leave it at that in this video, since the previous one was so long. and I will see you next time, and I think that will be the last video as well. Thanks for watching. See you then.